It's a political twist that is shaking diplomatic corridors and forcing renewed scrutiny on South Africa's global standing. The Democratic Alliance has come forward with claims that the administration of former U.S. President Donald Trump denied Mcebisi Jonas a visa and rejected his diplomatic credentials during his proposed appointment as South Africa's ambassador to Washington, D.C. The allegation isn't just about travel documents. It's a bombshell that raises uncomfortable questions about how South Africa is viewed on the world stage, and what this revelation might say about the leadership within the ANC and its supposedly reformist face under President Cyril Ramaphosa. Mcebisi Jonas is no ordinary political figure. His legacy is firmly linked to one of the most controversial and dangerous periods in South Africa's post-apartheid history, the state capture era. Jonas made headlines when he testified before the Zondo Commission that he was offered $600 million by the Gupta brothers to take over as finance minister and enable their stranglehold over the state. That single moment catapulted Jonas from behind-the-scenes bureaucrat to national hero. Many viewed him as a man of principle who rejected corruption when others folded. He symbolized a generation of leaders trying to steer the country out of political quicksand. So when Ramaphosa's administration put Jonas forward for the coveted position of ambassador to the United States, it made sense. He was articulate, globally respected, and most importantly, clean. Or so it seemed. According to the DA, however, the Trump administration did not share that admiration. They alleged that Jonas was denied a diplomatic visa and that his official credentials were outright rejected. While the United States has yet to publicly confirm or deny the claim, the Democratic Alliance insists that the matter was quietly buried by the Ramaphosa administration in an attempt to avoid embarrassment and controversy. If true, this would be a rare and damning moment in international diplomacy, a respected South African envoy rejected not by rogue regimes or geopolitical rivals, but by a key ally and trading partner. The DA is now calling for transparency. They want the full exchange of correspondence between South Africa and the U.S. State Department to be made public. For them, this is about accountability. Did the Trump White House really block Jonas? And if so, why? Was it merely a bureaucratic glitch, or was it a calculated decision rooted in suspicions, intelligence assessments, or political calculations? These are not small questions, especially given what Jonas represents to South Africans, a symbol of moral leadership in a time of institutional collapse. For years, South Africa has tried to rebuild its image after the catastrophic Zuma presidency, and Jonas has been part of that effort. He's advised Ramaphosa on economic reforms, spoken at global forums, and helped position the country as a forward-looking democracy. So if the United States under Trump had serious doubts about his integrity or political past, that cast a heavy shadow over not only Jonas himself, but the government that appointed him. The political implications at home are just as significant. The DA's revelation threatens to undermine Ramaphosa's image as the steady hand steering South Africa away from the edge. If his administration knew about the rejection and attempted to cover it up, that's a scandal on its own. It raises the possibility that even in the so-called New Dawn, old habits die hard, especially the habit of hiding uncomfortable truths from the public. Worse still, if Jonas was rejected due to links or associations that the South African government failed to vet, it suggests a troubling lapse in judgment at the highest levels of the state. It's not just about Mcebisi Jonas anymore. It's about what kind of message South Africa is sending to the world, and what kind of message the world is sending back. The rejection, if true, could indicate that allies like the US have not fully bought into Ramaphosa's reform narrative. It suggests that the deep rot of state capture might still be casting long shadows, and that reputational damage isn't easily erased with a few commissions and pledges. In diplomacy, perception is often reality, and the perception this incident creates is deeply damaging. The DA, sensing an opportunity, is pushing this issue hard. It fits neatly into their broader critique of the ANC as a party in decline, clinging to power despite repeated failures in governance, economy, and international diplomacy. They argue that the ANC's internal rot is now so deeply embedded that even respected figures like Jonas are considered liabilities abroad. It's a political weapon, yes, but it's one with potentially legitimate weight, especially if documentation eventually supports their claims. What's remarkable is the silence from the presidency. Ramaphosa has not addressed the matter publicly, nor has the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO, released any clarifying statement. This silence could be strategic. Perhaps there's more to the story that South Africa is not yet ready to reveal. But in the absence of clarity, speculation runs rampant. Was Jonas rejected because of his testimony during the Zondo Commission? Was there intelligence shared between nations that painted him in a different light? Or was it a purely political snub, perhaps linked to ideological tensions between the Trump administration and Ramaphosa's leadership? It's worth noting that under Donald Trump, the US took a more aggressive stance toward governments seen as leaning too closely toward China or Russia, or showing signs of corruption. If Jonas's appointment was perceived as symbolic of a regime not fully trusted, it's possible that Washington simply decided not to entertain it. That would be a stunning indictment, not just of Jonas, but of South Africa's foreign policy posture. This also comes at a time when South Africa's role on the global stage is undergoing intense scrutiny. From its positions on the Israel-Gaza war, to its alignment with BRICS, to accusations of neutrality bias in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the country is walking a diplomatic tightrope. Having its ambassadorial appointment to the US blocked, especially one who is supposed to embody a cleaner, more honest political future, throws that entire strategy into doubt. Ultimately, the question of why Mcebisi Jonas was denied remains unanswered. But the implications are growing clearer with each passing day. The idea that a country like South Africa, still trying to rebuild after years of corruption, economic malaise, and social instability, could have one of its most prominent figures quietly rejected by the United States should be deeply alarming to all South Africans, regardless of political affiliation. And this is why the silence cannot continue. Whether it's to exonerate Jonas or expose a flaw in the vetting process, the South African government owes its people the truth. Without it, trust continues to erode, not only in Jonas's reputation, but in the very promise of the new dawn. The time for answers is now. The country deserves more than silence. It deserves honesty, accountability, and full transparency. If these claims are untrue, the government must refute them with documented proof. But if they are true, and Jonas was indeed blacklisted, then the government must explain why, when, and what steps were taken in response.